And on today's show, we're going to talk about Alzheimer's.
We are.
But this time we're going to talk about from the caregiver's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of times we talk about the patient and everything that happens with them, and everybody feels, of course, sorry for them, which they should.
Yes.
But what about the caregiver and how they feel and all the things that they go through?
And they get lost. They get lost in the process, yes.
Right? So I think this is going to be a great episode.
I think so, too. One you do not want to miss. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Life Stripes with
Kathy and Duke.
Yes, we are here today, and as mentioned, we're going to be talking about Alzheimer's. However, we're going to be talking about it from the caregiver's perspective. So with us today, we do have Natalie Charles. How are you, Natalie?
I am well, thank you.
Very nice, and thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for asking.
So we're just going to jump right in. And your mom
Yes.
had Alzheimer's,
Yes.
which is a form of dementia,
Yes.
right? Cognitive
Yes.
impairment.
Mhm.
So let us know how you realized, when you realized what was going on with her.
We got the formal diagnosis in, say, 2012, but I noticed something as early as 2006. She would forget things or repeat things in a certain way. People were telling me that I was being hard on her, but you know how you just have a gut feeling, and I had a gut feeling, but just kind of left it alone.
Okay.
And then fast forward 2010, I was living in Vancouver, and friends and family were calling me to say, have you spoken to your mom? Something is wrong. My cousins, she'd visited my cousins in Texas, and they called and said, so about Auntie. And I just kind of, like, my heart sank because I thought, oh, nuts.
Yeah.
Right.
It's true. And then I had a conversation with my brother, and he says, well, you know, we haven't had a formal diagnosis, and maybe we shouldn't just take people's word for it. And it was one of those phone calls like,
Right.
he's not listening type situations. But understandably now I know that he was going through his fears about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
the first.
so that 6-year kind of span.
And so your brother and your mom were in Toronto, you were in Vancouver.
I was in Vancouver.
Okay, gotcha. So then you moved back to Toronto?
I moved back because I received a phone call one day from my mom, and she had called me many times before, repeatedly repeating the same thing. And then I got a call saying that people came into the apartment and stole her things. And when I did some investigating, it was because she lived alone, and because she's also a senior and she's lonely.
Right.
So people were canvassing for charity, so she invited them in and showing them her, because my mom had extra of everything.
Right.
So showing them her shoes and her this and her that. She said, do you want them? And I later found out that she was doing that with her jewelry as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they took them. So then when they left, she called me and said they stole my stuff. And so me on the street going, what the hell? So that's when I knew I had to go back. And I had made a few trips prior, just a few days here, a few days there. So, but I knew this time I had to go back.
You had to go back, like, for good.
For good. I had to go back.
Wow.
Sublet the apartment and come back to Toronto.
What age was your mom when you first realized that something was wrong?
70, late 60s, 68, 69, 70, because she died at 73. She died 4 days before her 74th birthday.
Okay.
Wow.
So when I came back in 2012, it had been for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, you notice it because it's not as if they say, somebody had asked me this question before, how do you know? It's not like they ask you, oh, have you seen my keys? Have you seen my keys? Have you seen my keys? They say it in a way like they're saying it for the first time. So it's, have you seen my keys? Not, I can't find them. Where? No, it's just, have you seen my keys?
Right.
So
have you seen my keys?
It's a different look.
Yeah.
Have you seen my keys? It's the exact same intonation, the same pauses.
Right.
It's like someone's rewinding the tape
over and
over and over.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you give her the answer, what happens? Like, yes, your keys are here. What?
Oh.
Oh my. Okay.
Have you seen my keys?
Oh, she asked again.
Yeah.
Wow. So as a daughter, I'm sure this is impossible to handle.
It's impossible to handle.
Right. Because this is not the woman you know.
No. And my mom was a brilliant, brilliant seamstress. And one day I asked her to sew on a button. And she went and she looked for the instructions on how to do it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm watching this, and inside I'm just crumbling because you recognize the shell, but you don't know what's going on inside.
Right.
So and also when this is happening, I'm realizing my life is going to be drastically different now.
Oh, for sure.
My surroundings, I have to adjust everything. She was sleeping one night, and I thought I had, a couple minutes to take the dog for a walk. I came back, she'd locked me out of the apartment. I had to get my neighbor to break the lock to get in the apartment.
Wow.
And so you're going through all these things, and you still have some kind of denial. You're thinking, no. It'll get better. Let me pray about it. It'll get better.
Right.
It's not getting better.
So in terms of family support, friend support, what does that look like?
It varies. People you think are going to be there, I guess because they're so close, they kind of spread out because they can't handle it. People you don't expect to step up. I internally had it out with my brother because he wasn't the way I wanted him to step. He wasn't stepping up. And then I realized he couldn't because he didn't know how to process it himself. Because when we were growing up, they were closer. So, and my brother, like a lot of men, want to fix it.
Yes.
He wants you to go to the doctor, have it done, get the prescription, get the natural. I mean, he set appointments for the naturopath for us. He didn't go.
He could set it up.
He could set it up. But but he was he was handling it in his own way.
In his own way.
Right.
So it was hard. Friends would show up sometimes, and we had a couple of her friends who they would cook for her, and they would say, "Meet me downstairs," because they couldn't come upstairs.
Oh, they couldn't see her
They
like that.
couldn't see her.
Right.
Okay.
They couldn't see her.
That's normal.
Yeah. And then support from, Alzheimer's Society and CCAC and Wheel-Trans. And it's interesting the conversations you have with these people on the phone. And my mother had always said it depends on the customer service person you get. Because I had the lady in Wheel-Trans say, listen, when they come, tell her to pretend like she can't walk. And then tell her, because then you get the services.
Right.
We are not endorsing this, by the way.
Exactly.
I'm just putting that out there.
Then you get the services. And then talking to family members. And this is the part that really, as a caregiver, this is the part that bothered me because I would say to a cousin or an aunt, oh, I have to, I bathed her and I did this. They're like, no. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to bathe her with this. And I'm thinking, why didn't you tell me that before? Yeah. It's almost as if when there's illness, people don't want to tell you until after the fact. So that really annoyed me.
See, I was just thinking that you were going to come from the perspective of they're not there, they don't know. Right. So how are they telling me what I'm supposed to be doing? Did you ever get any of that?
Yes and no, because a lot of people were either PSWs.
Okay.
I found out I had a lot of family members that were PSWs, personal support workers, or they had worked in homes. What do you call them? Seniors homes. So they'd seen the behavior.
Okay,
but I had to lay into one of her friends one time because she was talking to her on the phone and my mom kept repeating something and the woman kept going, I told you. And because I used to listen into the phone calls to hear what people were saying to her because sometimes she'd be upset. Okay. So watching this person who doesn't know my name be upset because somebody is saying something to her, I had to go and investigate why. And I walked into the front room and I said, Mom, just put the phone down for a second. And I went back into the bedroom and I said, how dare you? Right. You have been working in a senior's home for how many years? And this is how you're going to talk to her? Absolutely. You should know better. But the thing is, it's in our culture, no matter how old you are, you're always a child to them and to their friends because, they raised you. So it was, here I am battling this disease, and then I'm having to speak in a very adult, mature, protective way to some of these people. It's like, no, you will not talk to her like that. Right. You are not coming over. So part of me is going, oh my God, I'm talking to Miss So-and-so. Oh my gosh, I'm talking to Mr. So-and-so like this. And part of me is like, you know what? You're an ass. Right. How dare you? Right. This isn't back in the day. Yeah. So you're battling all these feelings, and then you got to go, clean somebody's ass. Yeah. So it's just, you're never on an even keel. Wow. You are never on an even keel. I was going to school at this point in time, and I had a good weekend. Really? Yeah, I decided to go to school.
Wow.
Yeah, because I had a friend who called me an idiot because they found that I did a massage course, and they're like, well, you're just stupid if you don't want to get, certification in Toronto. Yeah. And I was like, you have no idea what I'm going through right now. They're like, oh, really? Okay. and I'd had a good weekend. And one of my classmates saw me on the train, and she said, "Hey, how's everything going?" And I went, "Oh my God.
Yeah, well, of course.
Just-
Oh, it's got to be
Of
stressful,
course.
right?
And
Yeah.
So, and then in school, my instructors were supportive. My classmates were supportive. So I
that's a
had
blessing.
that.
That is a blessing.
It really,
So I'm sure that definitely helped you get through it.
really,
Yeah.
oh, it helped me in ways. It wasn't until I graduated that I realized how good my support from school was.
Excellent. And just to be able to do something for yourself, I mean, during that time, it must have been impossible, but to do it and know that you were doing this for you.
Yeah.
Right? So when it's all said and done, you had something for yourself.
Yeah. Thank God.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned like CCAC, which is home care service. What other support services were available to you?
So CCAC, and for anyone listening, CCAC now, the government has kind of dumped everything into them. So to get a senior's home, to get anything, you have to register with CCAC. And it's in different boroughs, and they get different services. So we had CCAC, we had Alzheimer's Society, we had Wheel Trans, we had something through the church called Spirit, where people come and visit. We had our geriatrician, we had our regular doctor, and family and friends.
And so these were weekly visits for the most part.
CCAC, they issued us a support worker who would come for an hour a day, and then on one particular day, 2 hours, and they would bathe her. One lady insisted that she was going to make the bed, and I was like, "No, you don't have to make the bed." But they'll do these services for you.
And so while you're in school, who's watching her?
We really lucked out. We had a good PSW. She and my mom got along really well. Excellent. To the point where on weekends my mom would kind of say, that lady is the lady coming, and I would just think
she could remember that.
She could remember that. Exactly.
Yeah, in a weird way, I knew what she was asking me, because she would just say, "There's people coming," or "that lady," or
so you were
like
able
that.
to interpret.
Yeah,
how she's speaking. Okay, you get to that point.
Exactly.
Got it.
But going back to the CCAC, you said that for people today going through that, everything is dumped into the CCAC. What does that mean?
That means any kind of government support you want, you have to have a file with CCAC. So if you want to get registered for a senior's home, you got to go through CCAC.
Okay.
If you want to get certain medications or prescription, everything is through their agency.
Okay, so that's good for our audience to know.
That's very good to know.
Yeah.
And so prior to us starting to film, we were talking a little bit about one of the places that your mother would go. You would send her to a day program. Right?
It was a day program, and I looked around for day programs in conjunction with looking for seniors' homes, and we got a really good one, Providence. They're at St. Clair and Warden. They're amazing. Actually, there's one at Shepherd and Birchmount, Shepherd House or Shepherd Home. That's also a really good one as well. And they have it set up really, really well, because they have 3 programs throughout the day. So for lack of a better term, there's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then the dinner program overlaps, so the person has to stay overnight. So. And then I think at that time they were $30 each, so you can join them all.
So $30 for the morning, the breakfast program, $30 for lunch, $30.
So when I needed a break,
so $30 for overnight.
That's good.
Each program was $30, and then there's a rate for the weekend as well. So there's times where I could send her on a Friday and she'd be dropped off on a Sunday.
Must have been so like such relief for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That is phenomenal.
I mean, that does sound good, but like, how expensive is it to take care of a person that does have?
Yeah, just in general.
I was really lucky because my mom was still getting pension from her job. She was still getting a pension, and then I started to work at that point in time, so we had income. I was very fortunate because, by the way, there's no services now. They have something called homestay or something like that, where you get paid to stay home with your person. Because people say to me, "Oh no, there's a government program," and I was like, "No, there's not. There isn't." And it's just, from a caregiver's point of standpoint, it is extremely painful because, like I said before, you're looking at this person who you don't know, and then no child should have to clean their parent. No child should have to put their hands in places that they came out of. You don't want to know that.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Bless your heart.
it's just
so
one of those.
true.
It is so
sounds
true. And
it sounds.
But you do
different.
what you do.
But
and it's frustrating because on the one hand you want to say, "Stop it, just stop being like this," but you can't because. You can't.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
but they
God.
do say once a man, twice a child. Right?
this is it. And it's not as if it's cancer or something where you can sit and have a conversation with the person. It is, they are gone.
Yeah.
And I really never understood the long goodbye until this disease. They're gone. And I remember the night she passed, I was frantic. And then people would say to me after that, we had the funeral and everything, and it's a funeral. Yeah. People would say, I grieved for 10, 12 years. And I just went, I ain't grieving that long. I ain't got time to grieve that long.
But you were already grieving.
But I didn't know I was already grieving.
Right.
Yes.
I didn't know, looking at her in the apartment, just trying to do certain things. It's difficult. And as a child watching this, you just think, there's nothing I can do for you.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing. And when you tell your friends, and they go, well, no, just try. And I'm just like, there is no just try. So please don't say that to anybody going through this. Don't say just try. Don't say, did you think about doing it? There is no way. Because the person you're dealing with is just a walking vessel. Wow. At this point, they have no recollection of anything. She would try to dress herself and put her clothes on backwards. And, she went into the fridge one day and she was eating butter because she thought it was yogurt. You don't, you don't, I saw her one day eating the dog food. So you have to rearrange your environment. You have to hide things. You have to lock things down. Yeah. You cannot. I almost lost her on the subway one day because I thought she was right behind me. Right. And when I turned and the crowd cleared, my mother wasn't there. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And you think, well, if she had Alzheimer's, how could you leave her? It's because she was at a stage where I didn't know where she was at what state, because sometimes she was fine and sometimes she wasn't, because it turns like that. Right. So you're constantly on edge. And by the way, when people invite people out and they go, yeah, I can come, and they say they can't, don't get mad at them because they don't know at all. Yes. I mean, I would wake up some days and think I'm going out and have to clean feces off the floor. It's just these things that you don't think of. Right. Yes. After she passed, I was a mess. I told everyone I was fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I was a mess. There were days where I'm an actor. I would go to an audition, and if I had brushed my teeth that day, it was a good day. Wow. And I had the same clothes on for 3 or so days. I'd be on the sofa. And the only thing that saved me, and this is after she passed, and the only thing that saved me is because I had to walk my dog. Yes. Because if he didn't, he would do it in the apartment. Right. It would take a long time, but that got me out into the fresh air. Okay. And I just, FYI, it's been 3 years, and I'm still not good. I get through it. There's times I'm walking across the street and I'll still cry. And
this leads to my another point that I was going to make. How are you? Because I think a lot of the times as the caregiver, we're always asking, how's your mom? Or how's your dad? Or whoever the person, who has the ailment. But how are you truly doing? And I know you said you're not good. So
I'm better.
Okay.
I was really bad, and then I read a book and saw a movie called Call Me By Your Name. And there's a line in the movie, and it says to make yourself feel nothing so as not to feel anything. And I didn't realize I was doing that. So
you wanted to feel nothing.
I wanted to feel nothing. I didn't have the space in here to feel anything. And I saw that movie, read that book, and everything just went pow, and came out of my head, came out of my I cried for days. There's times I'm still crying.
We can see how emotional you are right now.
Yeah, so you get through
very heavy,
but you can't always tell your friends, because then you don't want your friends to worry about you, because you don't want, oh gosh, you want to talk about it? It's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I just want it to be over. I just want to forget about it. I don't even want necessarily her hair. I just want her death to be easier. I want her to maybe, get hit by a car, something like that, because see them just slip away from you, that it's heartbreaking. Yes. And no amount of, and God bless friends for trying, but I hear a noise and I think about the time she fell and I didn't take her to the hospital, and it's so how am I? I get through it better on some days than others. Is how I am. Okay. And that's it. And sorry if I made plans with you and canceled at the last minute. It happens. It happens. So yeah.
And I'm sure your friends will forgive you.
Yeah. They would have to.
Yeah.
They would have to. Yeah, they would have to.
Yeah.
You know, especially after seeing this, they better. So,
Right?
I mean, this is real. This is real. And you obviously, you're a strong woman. So I could imagine that you really tried to hide a lot of stuff and bury a lot of stuff.
I'll tell you what, though, I had a friend of mine and her mom's name is Wendy, and the friend doesn't know this. I would call her and say, I don't know what to do. Not often, but it's like, I don't know what to do. I did this and this. She's like, yeah, so what? You're grieving. Tell everyone to... This woman is very colorful. She's like, so what? You're grieving. Who cares? Who cares what they think? You know, because her husband had passed. And so I said, well, how is it for you? And she's like, I didn't care. Some people would come over and I wouldn't open my door. I was like, what? What?
Yeah.
So you find strength sometimes in places you didn't.
Right.
You didn't think. And you also have compassion because there's a woman in my building going through it now. And I've caught her husband sometimes downstairs, like my mom did, wandering. My mom was out wandering in the rain one day while I was at school and I got the phone call. Yeah, and they said, you know, we have your mom, and the police had to call me, and I was going into student clinic, and so when I saw him pass me, I just went, that's not right. So you also find community, because I live in an apartment building. You find community because sometimes people after the fact told me, yeah, we saw your mom one day and we brought her back to the apartment. Wow. And I just thought, what?
And at the time they never told you. They didn't want to burden you with
exactly.
that. Another stressor. Okay.
Exactly. So.
Natalie?
Yeah.
This is real.
Yes.
Yeah.
The struggle is real.
Yes.
And we definitely want to thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. If I would say anything, you know, if you have friends going through this or any illness, sometimes just go over and clean their kitchen or bring them food or, I don't know, drive them somewhere if they need it and just stop asking, how are you? Because they're not fine.
Yeah.
Just say, what can I do for you? That's probably the better question.
Yes, for sure.
What can I do for you?
That is brilliant.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Life Stripes with Kathy and Duke, and we do thank you, Natalie, for coming and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Really do. This has been
thank you.
So good. Yeah, we really appreciate this. And you know, once again, just to echo your words, it's what can I do for you as opposed to how are you, because it's obvious.
Yeah.
Fine.
No,
but you're getting there. You're working on it.
I'm working on it. Yeah.
Okay, you're working on you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Care of you.
Yeah.
Good. And I think for all caregivers, that's the best that you can do while you're going through it after the person has passed. Take care of you.